Hey, check this out, guys. What's going on there? So I'm going to explain what exactly that is. I am going to review this bike, the Amflow PL Carbon Pro. And unlike the other stations out there, I'm going to give you 10 pros, 10 cons, give you a balanced review to help you make a buying decision. What's up, everybody? FC here from E-MTB Review. I review a lot of e-bikes, commuter bikes, components, bike racks. So if you're not part of the family yet, just get in there, subscribe, and really interact with the video. Comment, share your experience. If you don't like me, if you don't like what I said, let's talk it out. Let's hash it out. And that's what helps this channel grow, because we are growing. I think 20,000 subscribers now in one short year. But what we have here is the disruptor, the disturber, the disruptor of the bike industry, of the e-bike industry. The e-bike industry is already the disruptor. So this is the masthead of the disruptor in this space. So, and what it is it's a motor. In Europe, it was called DJI, but in US, it's Avinox. And it's a motor that came from the future. It was introduced last year, almost exactly last year at Eurobike. And it had technology that's never been seen in e-bike motors. It was too good to be true. In fact, when they asked bike manufacturers to build a bike around the motor, the manufacturer said, no, you guys are, that's vaporware. So what they did was they made their own company called Amflow, just to showcase the motor and really see what it's capable of. And this is the bike and this is the motor. Amflow PL Carbon is the cheap model. Carbon Pro is the expensive model. About $10,500 for this one, but right now there's a sale going on until mid-December, about 16% off, $8,600. So something to look at. That's why my review, I had to rush this before my travels. And what's going on is they attacked the trail market, 150, 160 travel, and full-powered e-bike with an 800 watt-hour battery. And they said, instead of going bulky and heavy-duty, beefy everything, let's attack the light market. And it's actually a good strategy, because for most first-timers or those who haven't had an e-bike yet, they're so scared about the weight. They don't like the girth, the big appearance. They want it to look like a mountain bike and weigh like a mountain bike. So you can't do that, but with a full-powered battery and motor. But they really went attacked that market. So with an 800 watt-hour battery, no pedals, I put it on the scale, 45.5 pounds. Now with these wheels, I have a couple modifications here that made it dialed, and I'll talk about that later. But that's what they attacked. And everyone has talked about the motor. The motor is from the future. Like I said, what makes it special? It's because it uses a lot of drone technology, and we have 105 Newton meters of torque, 850 watts. So torque is all there. And even more important, or even more fascinating, is if you hold the turbo button or the up button for a while, it's going to go to 120 Newton meters of torque and 1,000 watts of power. So just fascinating power, and it's small and quiet. Has a display that's touchscreen with 2 wireless remotes. It has a fascinating iPhone app. It has a battery that's slender. Comes in 800 and 600. This is the 800, and I've had this before. We imported one from China just so we could get it before it was legal in the US, or before they had distributors in the US. And I've had maybe 4 videos on it already, but really they were like short-term impressions. I just did a rally head-to-head against some popular bikes, and now I have this. I've been riding it maybe 20 rides on this guy now. I've rode it box stock and I modified it with these wheels, and now I really understand it. I understand its strengths, I understand its weaknesses, and I'm here to share it with you. All right, so why don't we start with the strengths, and I'll give you some riding video as I go through it. They went lightweight. It's a proven suspension. It's the Horstick suspension. The patent is over, so this is what's very popular on e-bikes. This is what works on e-bikes. Has that dual link here for stiffness, and it it is a good package. You know, for a first effort from a bike company you've never heard of. Wow. You know, black chain to match the black. Little stubby stem like this and wide bar so you could have some options. Really good. Next strength is the weight. The weight is fascinating. It is 45.5 pounds box stock with 29er wheels that they spec'd with an Assegai. So no pedals on that. And that's with an 800 watt hour battery. So if you put the 600 watt hour battery that they sell, although I didn't find it configurable on their website, it would be around 43 pounds, you know, so just an amazing weight for a full powered motor. The third strength is the motor. Notice I didn't make it number one. You know, motor is not everything. Yeah, it's a bike package. The motor is really next level, and you'll find out the testing that I did like nobody else did. I have a standardized test for speed up a hill, and the speed of this motor is just mind-blowing. You know, what takes the Shimano bike 6 minutes to climb with the same effort, power meter pedal measured on my legs and full turbo on this guy, it took it about 3 minutes and change. So that fast. In fact, it was so fast that I said, okay, I don't think this is gonna last. Let me take it up my 5-mile Montebello road uphill, 2,000 feet of climbing in 5 miles. I'll go full blast for me and let this bike do its thing, and I'll let it heat up, overheat, and shut down and see what happens. And what's taking e-bikes 20 minutes and even the new Bosch motors 19 minutes, took this bike 14 minutes. 14 minutes to climb the 2,000 foot hill, 5-mile hill. It has a special mode, 28 mile an hour mode that I used on the road. All right, the fourth advantage is it has surprisingly good range. You know, when it first came out, folks were saying, oh, that range is awful. You know, it's like, battery runs out, the 800. If you're testing your 850 watts or 1,000 watts, of course your battery is going to go down. There's several reasons for that. You know, it consumes more power when it's in full boogie. The other thing is you can't really help. Range is determined by how much you're pedaling and how much the motor is working. And when you are making the motor work 1,000 watts, your legs can't really add because there's no hill steep enough for you to help. Also, instead of taking, like I said, 20 minutes to climb that hill, you climb in 13 minutes, means you're not able to help as much. You know, you're only helping for 13 minutes. All right, so the range is impressive. You know, when you are just going high speed with a bunch of Levos, with a bunch of Bosches, it runs out of battery last. You know, maybe because the motor is you know, not even breaking a sweat. It's quite efficient. Number 5 advantage is the technology. You know, some of you guys don't like the tech, but when it disappears into it, it's good. You have a display that's touchscreen. It took me like 5 minutes. I had to read the manual how to activate the bike because I was pressing all the buttons, but I didn't touch the screen. I never had that. And then you have 2 wireless remotes, one on each side. You don't need a remote if you want to lose weight or have less clutter. You have a fascinating iPhone app that you can configure everything with. You know, it's like from the drone world. You have a fast charger that you don't see anywhere else. I think you only see this on the Specialized S-Works, which is a lot of money. And you're like, when you feel it, you're like, whoa, why does it feel different? Charger's made of metal. Like, dang. You know, maybe for quality and also for heat dissipation. Number 6 is it has capable brakes. Magura MT7. You know, at first I didn't like it because it's not a new brake. It's like a 5-year-old brake, and the lever is kind of squarish, interfering with my fingers. But I just tilted it up, so you have to match the angle of your finger, so so it's more comfortable. But really, I've been using these HSC levers from Magura that you can upgrade to. But at the end of the day, they're powerful brakes. I like them. I like that they didn't do the kind of the floating rotor brakes that rattle. So it's enough. You got to break them in. Got to set up the levers perfectly, but they're good brakes. Number 8 advantage is a lot of these bikes are going to be bought direct, Amflow.com, and the packaging impressed me. It impressed me. Beautiful box, a lot of custom stuff, and not a lot of, not an kind of an extraneous packing material. You know, not like 5 pounds of packing material. It's packed, protected where it needs to be, and really the structure of the box protected the frame. And it's so very professionally packed. And they, couple of that, if you go to your dealer, they now have local dealers. So in a very short amount of time, 6 months, they were able to sign a bunch of dealers in the area. In the Bay Area, we have like 3 or 4 Woodside Bikes and AJ's and Sun Bike Shop. So they're adding as fast as they can. Number 9 advantage is it rides well. You know, I was a little confused with the cheaper version, you know, because the suspension wasn't quite there. But this one, once I got my pressure set, pressures weren't, and the rebound damping was not set from the factory. Once I got that thing dialed, it was supple. It was a supple suspension. You know, it was a fairly good geometry, nice seat angle, 77 degrees. And, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the 29er, and the BB was a little high. But, man, that's where I did a lot of my testing. I go, it rides well. It's a trail bike and really a good trail bike. You know, I did experience a lot of the flex that people experience on the stem and on the chainstay. I was like, wow, I was impressed. So with a few mods, it went over my expectations. All right, and the 10th advantage is firmware. You know, they are very comfortable with firmware updates, and they have a whole team working on firmware. So as things develop out in the marketplace, they're able to improve what you already bought, you know, like 6 months ago. And so this bike, compared to the bike I tested 6 months ago, has about 5 or 6 motor improvements. It's just kind of mind-blowing. And they just come to you on frequent firmware updates. So what I showed you earlier is something called coast shift. You know when you're at the top of the hill and you're in the lowest gear and you need to go on the middle gear because it's going to be descending, and vice versa when you're at the bottom of the hill. So what you could do, but you can't really pedal and shift sometimes because there's a lot of rocks and you're starting to descend, right? What you do is you just shift away. And so what's happening here is when you shift, the motor will turn the cranks ever so slowly. You can hardly notice it. And now you can get on the right gear. So that's called coast shifting. And it's mind-blowing. A lot of bikes are going to have it next year, but because of their firmware updates, they are just able to release it really quick. They have something now called commuter mode, 28 miles an hour. If you are on the roads, they have a chain protect where it's going to back off when you are shifting during a high motor load. So really cool technology. And why they're able to do a lot of it is because the access battery, they don't have an access battery, which is an advantage as well. You don't have to charge that thing, is tuned into or tapped into the controller and main battery. So big advantage, you're able to do a lot of stuff. They can even do automatic shifting. But you know, right now they don't want it to because users are not really into that aside from commuter bikes. All right, disadvantages. This is what I'm proud of, because when I watch all the other YouTubers, they're either haters or they're just they're just glowing with reviews with no real disadvantages. And really, that's when you can tell when someone is biased. They were given the bike or something, or I don't know what's up, or they try to protect their sponsors. So I'll give you 10 disadvantages. I'm not going to go cheap on this. I'm not going to go easy on this bike. So the first disadvantage are fit issues. So fit issues, number one, there's no small size. So because their battery is long and what have you, they said no small. Medium, large, extra large. The other thing is the seat tube is rather tall, so you can't put a really long dropper. To compound that, they bent the seat tube here. So that means your dropper post will bottom out right here. So you can't, it comes shipped with a dropper that's not so long. If you don't use really long droppers, no big deal, but that's where the sport is going towards, as long a dropper as your legs will allow. So that's a little bit of a problem. The second disadvantage is it's a 29er native bike. So 29er native bike, it came with these wheels, carbon wheels, Assegai and Dissector 29er. And they say it's Mullet compatible. 29er means that it's made for a 29er. All the heights and the chainstay length has to fit a 29er. You can put a Mullet if you want, but it wasn't really made for it. Luckily, it works, but with some compromises. So with 29er, the flip chip is adjusted to low, and when you put a mullet, you're supposed to get it high to get it to their design. So I put a mullet in. Obviously, that doesn't change the chainstay length. It makes it more agile. It puts it lower to the ground, and I didn't put it back high, which is the magic, because I think it's a little too high. 345 millimeter BB height, that lowered that, and it made the head angle slacker, gave me more butt clearance. You don't want this 29er wheel hitting you when you're getting rad. So little disadvantage, but you can fix it, by buying your own 29er wheel set. Now, coupled to that, I tried to get them to send me a mullet wheel set, but they don't have it. So that means they don't sell it as a mullet. So you'd have to do it yourself, or hopefully work with your dealer. Maybe he has some 27 rear wheel in stock, and just do a swap where you don't have to spend extra money to do it. The fourth disadvantage is the battery is fixed. It's really fixed. There's some bikes now, you have a door like the Levo pack. 30 seconds, you have a new battery, fresh battery. You can do battery swaps. And then there's some that are 10-minute removable. You could drop a cover and slide it out and bolt the new one in. This thing, no, you can't do any of that. This is some mechanics. You can service the battery, but you cannot swap it or quick swap it or even swap it on the trail or the garage. It's really a bike shop operation. Another disadvantage is this is not compatible with any extender battery, unlike the latest models from Specialized and Bosch full-powered e-bikes. Number 5 is it's a trail bike, and it's a conservative trail bike. It's similar to the previous generation Stump Jumper, which is the right bike to mimic, but it's not as modern as other bikes. Not quite as burly or modern as the Vala. It would have been nice if it was this like the Vala, 63 and change head angle and really stiff, and really allow you to do the aggressive downhill. So this is not an aggressive all mountain bike or an aggressive trail bike. It's a trail bike that you could do some rad stuff with. All right, number 6 disadvantage is a Flexi stem, and you can see it just by pressing hard on it, and then the chainstay. Heavier riders complain about it. So I just wanted to mention that. I'm riding it as it is right now. I really haven't noticed it. Maybe it dents. I'm only at 150 pounds right now, so I haven't noticed it. But I have been dancing with this bike, and it's been good. So I haven't noticed it, but others have. So if you're 240 pounds of pure muscle, might not be the bike for you. Number 7 disadvantage is we have some light tires, light wheels. I don't think these spokes are double butted at all. So very tightly wound, and dissector would have been good to have at least a DHR. The casing is the light casing. So if you live in a rocky area and they're Maxxis tires, you might, for an e-bike, that's pretty rare to have the EXO casing. All right, number 8 disadvantage is, let me turn this bike off, is pretty high drag on the bottom bracket. When you pedal, you're like, whoa, yeah, my brakes dragging. It almost feels like your brakes are dragging. Okay, so it's not unusual for all e-bikes to have a little bit of drag, but this guy has more than most. And how I can show you, I lift it, and that drag is about 3 pounds of drag. They say, and it was heavier when it was new. It's eating some of your battery, and when your motor is off, you have to, that's like, I don't know, 10, 20 extra watts that you have to produce just to get these wheels moving. So number 9 weakness is the display is small. It's tiny, and they have so much data. Battery I can't read while I'm going. So it's nowhere near as big as the the new Bosch CX 500C, the display, or 400C that they have. That one's really readable. In fact, I think this is about the same display area as the new Gen 4 Levo, even though that's just much smaller form factor. You just have a lot of plastic around this thing. All right, and the 10th disadvantage is it's still a small dealer network, and they're not the premium dealers, because a lot of premium dealers are locked into other bike manufacturers. So you don't get that level of support yet. So that's the pros and cons. So what do you guys think? So for me, it's been a revelation. You know, it's before on the old bike, I said I'm not gonna own one. It's not quite. I've advanced beyond my in my older years. I've advanced because of e-bikes. I ride so much better and much more aggressive terrain. I said this thing can't handle it. But now that I've been living with it, now that I mulleted it with these what do you call these fiber spokes and these radial tires, I'm like, damn, I'm doing stuff like that's like I haven't done before. So of course the dirt is really good. So I'm really jazzed what I've learned. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put this head to head against the Levo, against the best Bosch bikes out there. I have an RE, I have some other stuff, but I really make the Vala, for example, just give it a real comparison. But what they're offering is legit, you know, especially the sale now, 8,600 for a motor this good, a bike this light, you know, and that you could tune it to your heart's content. It's a compelling package, my friends. All right, thanks a ton, everybody.